This is going to be a quick and basic guide to the different races in the game Saga Frontier. Gonna assume you've played an RPG before and are coming in with the understanding that the more I use a character, the better they'll become. You'd be right for thinking that. But in execution with the game in particular, you'd be mostly right. But not entirely. There are 4 races and 1 half race in the game. They all play pretty similar in that they can all attack, use items, use equipment, become stronger over time. You know, good stuff. However, the way each race levels up, you can't see it, but I am making air quotes over here. It varies on the race that they belong to. So let's get into it. Basic info for all or most races. The more you lean into a role, the better they'll become. For humanoid characters, at least, if you focus on physical attacks, your WP, weapon points, or Waza points, these are essentially your MP for physical abilities. Some cost a little, some cost a lot, but the more you focus on weapon attacks and weapon arts, the more you'll gain at the end of the battle. If you're building a magic user, you'll gain more JP, job points or jutsu points. These are the MP of Saga Frontier. You use these for all your fancy spellcasting abilities, cast more spells, and the number will go up at the end of battles. If you load up your ability menu with nothing but physical skills, you'll get to see a meter start to fill up with blue. Once you get at least 8 weapon abilities, you'll see a crown appear in the meter. This means you are specialized in weapon arts, and all your weapon arts will cost 1 less WP to a minimum of 0, which is a good thing. The same thing works for spells instead. The meter will fill up with red, with each spell you place up to 8 magic abilities, which will give you a crown. This will also make your spells cost 1 less to a minimum of also 0. If you have 1 spell or 1 weapon art in opposite of each other, this will remove your crown. So it's up to you whether you specialize in one role or be a jack of all trades. To you. However, if you are playing as a human, I would recommend that you leave at least 1 ability slot open at all times, no matter what, if you are specialized in magic, weapon arts, or anything, because you need at least 1 open slot in order to spark or glimmer a new ability. This is when your character in the middle of battle learns a new move, indicated by the light bulb popping up over their head, and executing this new move on the spot. It's free too. This is exclusive to human characters, however, as they are the only race that learns weapon arts and dodge moves. These are the only abilities that you spark mid-combat. Spells, monster moves, mech moves, they're all learned at the end of a battle. So load up all your non-humans with all the abilities they can hold. Humans, leave that 1 slot open. Speaking of humans though, humans are the most plentiful race in the game. You will likely in most of your playthroughs have at least a party made up of most, if not all, humans. They get stronger the more you use them, they can spark or glimmer all combat skills in the game, they're the only race that can learn physically damaging moves, so you want to make your martial artists, your swordsmen, your gunslingers, the only real race that works for that is human. However, that doesn't mean that all they can do is weapon skills. They can learn almost all the magic, except for mystic magic, that obviously belongs only to mystics. The big thing with human characters is that they grow stronger with each battle they participate in. XP isn't really a thing in Saga Frontier. You don't fill up a meter, pop off big fireworks, and get bonus points. Humans mainly get stat boosts after every single battle you use them in. Every time. They get stat boost based on what you had them do in battle. So if you had them attacking with a sword, their WP will go up, and associated stats, such as strength. If, however, you had them working mostly on casting spells, their JP and intelligence are most likely to go up. So with humans, you really want to pick out your party early and focus on those characters from start to finish. Otherwise, if you find some cool character right before you take out the last steps in the game, you're going to be stuck grinding that character out for quite a while to bring them up to par with the rest of your squad. Mystics, however, are similar to humans in that they can also learn magic. Mystics, though, lack the ability to gain weapon arts. No matter how many times you swing that sword, punch an enemy in the face, they're never going to learn 1 weapon art. With 1 exception. But we'll get there eventually. Don't worry about it. So you'll need to load them up with your choice of magic and their ability slots. However, you will also notice they have 3 special mystic weapons. Mystic Blade, Mystic Gloves, Mystic Boots. If you use these abilities in combat, you will see they do pretty poor damage. But the damage is not the point of these abilities. When you get a monster low in health, then would essentially deal a finishing blow with either the blade, the gloves, or the boots. You'll see an animation of them getting absorbed into the character that used that ability. That means you have trapped their very soul into that weapon. As long as that creature's trapped within the ability, you'll notice that on the ability screen, that it grants you the use of a move depending upon which of the 3 abilities it's trapped in. So a tree stuck in your sword will give you a different ability than a tree trapped in your boots. You'll notice too that you also get a stat buff as well. This is based on the creature that you absorbed. So a high level monster like a dragon will give you a much bigger stat buff than a platypus. Cool, free stats, right? Well, yes and no. This is the only way in order to raise your stats other than your HP, WP, JP, and Charisma on a Mystic character. If you want to make your Mystic stronger, you need to find strong enemies and trap their life essence forever within your blade, your boots, and your gloves. You can only have one enemy trapped in each ability at a time, so if you capture a new one, the old one will be gone, along with its stats and its bonus ability, but it'll be replaced by the new one. You can do this as often as you want to, so replace low-level enemies as you progress. This makes Mystics a pretty good late-game addition to your party, other than needing to farm up some HP, WP, or JP. You can just go farm up a few monsters and have endgame stats in just a few minutes of a Mystic. So, if you find a Mystic team member late in the game, you don't have to feel bad about adding them to your main roster. Okay. The one Mystic that throws it all out the window. It's technically a half Mystic. It's the main character, the Mystic, half Mystic character of the game, Azalith. She's part human, part Mystic. Half Mystic. So she levels up like a human, gets stat buffs when she beats enemies, she can spark or glimmer her physical techniques, use all kinds of magic, and still have access to all the Mystic weapons, the blade, the gloves, and the boots. The fancy stat boosts, and all the abilities that come with them, as well as leveling up the stats, all good. The only downside of any of this is that you gain access to the abilities of the souls trapped within your Mystic weapons on Azalith. You have to hit an enemy first with any of your Mystic abilities at one point in the fight in order to trigger a Mystic transformation. Only then will she be able to use the abilities of the monsters trapped within the item. It's a pretty small price to pay in order to have access to all the other abilities of human and a Mystic together. Totally worth it. Mechs are super simple. You find a mech, you can make them ready for endgame by fighting exactly 0 fights. Mechs get almost nothing out of battles. The only thing a mech can get from battling is if it fights other mechs, and only other mechs. Then it has a chance to absorb one of the defeated mech abilities, or it'll just recharge all of its WP off the enemy if it can't learn anything. They gain no stat boost from fighting, and they gain no stat boost from stealing abilities from other mechs. So, how do mechs gain stats? Through shopping. I'm not even joking. Mechs can equip just about everything in the game, and each item they equip gives them more stats across the board. Super heavy armor suits? Yeah, just slap on 4 of them to gain 99 resistances to everything, 800 HP. Load yourself up with swords and guns to max out your strength. The only thing that you should also look for are memory boards. These boards, when equipped, will allow you to equip more ability slots from fallen mechs or grant abilities all on their own. So if you find a mech that you think looks really cool and you want them on the team, load them up with gear and they can be endgame ready without one single fight. Big warning on mechs though, they need a repair kit to be healed. Regular healing magic and items don't do squat on them, so plan accordingly. Last up, there's monsters. I'm not gonna lie, if you're a beginner, don't play with monsters. They'll have you scratching your head as to what to do with them. Monsters are like Legos. They gain abilities from defeated monsters, so you beat up other monsters, absorb their abilities, and based on the abilities they have when gaining the newest ability, it'll trigger a change in the monster that they are. So a small slime can become a bigger slime, or a dragon can become a tree. The main idea that drives the transformation most of the time is which ability is tied to a certain body part. There are abilities that correspond to a head, legs, and arms. These will determine what your next monster will be. It's not really beginner friendly. There is a spreadsheet out there that tries to map out which monster parts you need to become what monster, but unless you're really playing as Riki, or you really want to play an Excel spreadsheet for a character, I'd stay away from monsters until you're far more comfortable with this game. They can be quite powerful, but you'll lose your mind when you lose your Black Dragon because you replaced the key ability that you forgot you needed. So, those are the 4.5 races of Saga Frontier. Using a mixture of most, or all of the races can help balance out your team as you're playing, or go play T260G, get a party full of mechs, and just steamroll your way through some content when you choose the black market for unlimited funds. Either way, these are more of the basics of the beautiful disaster that is Saga Frontier. With these basic leveling tips, you should be more than ready to get through your first playthrough, or at least not be as frustrated when your Mystic character refuses to learn a single weapon skill. So have fun out there, champions, and I'll see you all again in the next adventure.